So our final presenter for this morning is a father and a child psychologist. And with our children of all ages now using more and more screen time, we're going to look at the effect of what this is having on them. So please, for the final presentation this morning, please welcome to the stage Omar Moghraby.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm actually a child psychiatrist. The difference is that we wear tweed jackets as part of the uniform, so make sure you get that right next time. But move on. My talk, when it comes up. Oh, I see, you're right. Well, I think it's been a very fascinating set of talks just before, and I've been interested to see the various viewpoints, and I say I'd agree with all of them, even though some of them are quite diverse and differing in how they've been presented. Yes, yeah, okay, sure. Great, so it's on there. So the question is, okay, so here we are. There's hundreds of devices out there. Those are just a few. That's 5. There may be 6 or 7. 5 years ago, there were less. 10 years' time, maybe there'll be 20 times more. And that sort of cloud in the middle is us interacting with each one of us. So it's a case of it's a case of the fact that we interact, but how do we interact? What are we doing when we're on there? We're relating with people, we're getting involved, we're messaging people, watching things on YouTube. I think that's probably been the biggest drive recently, or on TV. And you could do it almost with any device. TV, you can access your internet as well as your phone. But so what? You can do all these things, so what? The idea is that there must be some sort of a balance, and that's what the two parents just before me have been talking about. But in those empty scales are factors. What do we put inside them? What are the factors that we need to consider before allowing more or less screen time? And I suppose I was just thinking about what different factors are involved in research to make that happen. Are we making a mountain or a molehill? On the one side, you've got all the anxieties that we have, the different factors which may be affecting it, but the other side, there is quite a paucity of research. There's very little research on some of these factors, especially on causality. A lot of cross-sectional studies, so looking at particular incidents, but it doesn't necessarily tell us what has caused one thing or the other. So anyway, I did a little bit of a search on how to think about some different factors. Some things that come up repeatedly is on the next slide when it comes up, and something I think that will be reminiscent to a lot of you, and that is sleep. Familiar with that? It should be, because we do a lot of it. At 6, you need about 11 hours, 10 hours, and 8. At 16, 8 hours. And that's got a quite consistent finding in various different research studies. And the fact is that it is very important that we think about how this affects us. There is a lot of research. Sounds like a perfect thing to do. All you do is sit in a chair or a bed, sleep, let someone watch you, and do various things. But there are the main findings from the research around sleep latency. That is how quickly it is you get to sleep, but also about the quality of sleep. So increased amount. Some studies have shown increased amount of actual screen time has an effect on that. What about exercise and obesity? Well, it's quite clear. If you're going to be sitting around playing video games, then you're not necessarily going to be doing lots of exercise, and that goes without saying. But however, a link between video console use and obesity hasn't been found. So suffice to say, you need to look at, do lots of exercise, do sweat it. What about violence? There's some research, psychological research in the 60s and 50s around children watching violence or content and then acting that out later on. I think some of this stuff has been debunked a little bit later, but suffice to say, I think it's important that we consider what it is our children are watching and are observing, and allowing them to contextualize that a bit later. Again, there isn't any studies to say that there are particular ill effects from doing that, but of course people must have used anagrams or crosswords in the past as something that we can use and to sort of advance our mind. But and these things are available on our computers. But the question I'd really have you ask is, what are the developmental needs of your child at the time? What do they need at this particular age, at this stage? What's their advantage? And that's how I would probably address it. So in thinking further, that's probably the most important factor. Mental health is just to remind me that it's important that we talk about it. There's no links, I should stress, between screen time and developing a mental health disorder. Having said that, the screens can be very useful in terms of delivering it. Online psychotherapy, CBT, or using computers to help us do it, to deliver it in far-off places, it can be very, very useful. So there's the balance. There's a few things on the scales. Hopefully these are different factors that you will enable you to consider. How do you address this? Most important thing is it being around a balance between using the technology that's available and having things that they enjoy doing, whether it's the same thing. Suffice to say, it's here to stay, so we need to address it. I think it's important to have a conversation about it. We've heard lots about arguments and fights, and that probably does more harm than the screen itself. So I think it's worth us considering having a real discussion and being open with the children about it. Thank you.
These are real issues for real parents, and today is a day of talks, of shared experiences and inspiration for parents by parents.
First of all, don't overpraise your children for success. Secondly, don't over-rescue them, particularly don't over-rescue your girls. Thirdly, and this is a big cliche around at the moment, allow them to be bored, because boredom is the engine of imagination.
A year or so after the bullying started, 8-year-old me, that was when I discovered programming properly. And it was a new world of things for me to explore, things to learn, and problems to solve. You say Minecraft is like crack for children? I'm not surprised that people love it so much.
The one thing that we worry about only is the amount of screen time they have. And we've had the rules, we try to be consistent when we rewrite them. And then along came this game called Minecraft.
This is an exercise where you ask where dad just gets to be completely controlled. Lift your left arm, take a step forward.
I don't make a big distinction. It's just, screens are just part of the environment. They're a bigger and bigger part. I can't imagine why anyone would restrict access to them.
I personally believe that children under 5 don't need it. That's my belief.
The supervision is also very important to talk about what it is that they are thinking about, what are they exposed to, and how can we address that with the young person.
I'm going to talk to you a bit about creativity, but I'm also going to talk to you about technology and how it kind of changed my life.
Do you want to join in? You'd have to. Trouble is, you have to give the iPad away. You have to give the iPad away.
I saw that and thought, hang on, schools are teaching creativity out of children. We have a system. So what we're announcing today, we want to call it the STEAM Co. The STEAM company, the STEAM co-creation, the STEAM collaborators, whatever we want co to mean. And we want to get other schools to do this, to try what we've done. We want to build a body of parts. So if you want to get in hold of it.
I'm going to start from the premise that kids love making things.
I'm going to tell you a strategy that is practical and effective. Practical means you can do it. Effective means it works.
Thank you all very, very much. Thank you for all our speakers. All the parents are standing up. But most of all, thank you. Thank you guys.